need to do is get like some sort of clip or something loaded up that we can use it as an intro. Because we have that now, like on the soundboard. You can
since
put
we're paying
that.
for the fucking premium for this now.
Yeah, we should really utilize it. Add a little bit of extra frill in for the listeners.
Yeah, get a sound effect going right now.
Oh yeah, maybe ballpark.
and that, as our listeners know, is the intro chime for These People Are Sick.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah. Well, fucking, I got a lot. I don't know what it was, but something animated me this week to just like write out quite a lot of topics. So I think
I see that.
probably. Yeah. So as is tradition, we'll probably get to like a third of them.
Yeah.
But dude, honestly, man, I was thinking about it and like, I don't know. Did we ever get to the tranny school shooter?
No, I don't even think that we talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's like fucking. Who cares,
right?
Or I mean, not who cares.
I mean, I care, but I just feel like everyone else has talked about it enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't even mean who cares. I just mean like, it's not exactly a topic I'm like tripping over myself to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I mean, I've not heard it from a single type of source about it. Like I haven't read an article about it or seen a news. I've only heard about it from just like passerbys or podcasts or whatever I listen to. So I was pretty out of the loop on it in general. So I didn't feel like I had a lot to offer on it other than my general stance on like those types of events anyways.
Oh yeah, well this wasn't me introing that, but just to say basically that, I feel like with all these topics and everything, I'm sure I had it outlined one time and we just didn't get to it. And I feel I got to carry these over because then it's like we never even talked about that. And that was kind of a big deal.
We'll have an endless list of just like rollover. It'll be like a fucking Walgreens receipt.
Yeah, we're we're just gonna perpetually be in catch up with stuff. But that's the nice thing of the fact that we just eat our cake and have it too, with the fact that we're like a current events podcast that's not a current events podcast. It's just whatever we are in the mood for. So,
semi-current, sometimes recurring.
Yeah, exactly. We're flip flopping. But the thing that I do want to fucking talk about, which all of nothing about, is this Pentagon leaker.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest with you. The first time I heard about it was when you texted me about it as a potential topic. So I don't know what's going on with that even remotely.
Yeah, so again, like I said, not a current events podcast, as you can tell. No, so I mean, dude. So I'm not gonna say his name for two reasons. The first and probably most important,
say her name, bro.
Being that I already did my research and I don't want to do it again. And I forgot to write this person's name down. And second, I'll just, whatever, right? Like, I don't want to put this person's name out there any further. Right. I mean, it doesn't matter. This person's life is completely destroyed at this point. And like their name's going to be everywhere anyways, but it's not worth me Googling. But in any case, we got basically somebody that worked at the Pentagon, was leaked a bunch of documents. I guess it was images in the Pentagon at their workplace that included documents, and just kind of haphazardly taking, pictures of like papers on desks and shit like that, on like a Discord server, on like a gaming Discord server with like a bunch of like kids and shit.
Wait, so he just took those pictures and sent them in himself on the Discord server, or it was like hacked or something, or?
No. He posted them on there himself. So that's a good question. So, and this is kind of the funny thing about it. And this is one of the aspects that I love about this story, is at least insofar as I'm aware, this guy basically just posted them online. Like, I mean, first of all, he's like disillusioned by like, with, the state of the government and all that stuff, obviously.
As one is.
Right. Basically par for the course. But also, basically just like for clout. is kind of the impression that I've gotten from people. Is this kid basically posted it just to be like, I work at the Pentagon, this is my actual proof, like, look at that, guys.
Okay, yeah,
which is wild.
Yeah, like one of those day in the life, like fucking like people on TikTok or something, like they're like, this is me going to my HR job where I'm going downtown and da da da, but instead it's him trying to flex being at the Pentagon.
Yeah, no, exactly. He's like posting one of these like TikTok videos of him like getting green juice, and writing a gratitude list, and then doing 5 minutes of work, on like how to like drone strike weddings. No, but I love this because it's like we're living in a fucking postmodern novel now, right? Like this is like a Coen Brothers movie. This is Burn After Reading. It's not like this is someone trying to challenge the state in any meaningful way. This is just like a guy getting clout with like a fucking Minecraft server, basically, right? So he posted this.
So are the documents that are in the photos, are they like the main focus of the photos, or are they just like he's like taking a selfie, like look at me here, and then in the corner you can see that there's like documents that say, you know, we killed X person or whatever?
So I only saw a couple of the pictures. There's probably a decent amount of them, but it basically just kind of looked like pictures of like the top of a desk with papers on it.
Okay,
you know, so not exactly the photography of like somebody who was a fucking, you know, foreign spy,
right?
But you know, like honestly, it's to the extent where like when people say like he was just basically getting clout on this Discord server, I like believe it, because you can basically
just gaming server.
I think it's ostensibly a gaming server. I mean, you know how it is, like with FedCord and everything. It's just people just are hanging out on this.
Yeah, you get in there and then it just kind of spirals into being just a hangout spot rather than like a video game chat room or whatever. Yeah,
totally. And so like,
toke up, bro.
Yeah, bro. Which he won't be doing in prison. So,
oh Lord, yeah. I mean, this guy. So they caught this guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So well, so this is one of the craziest parts of the story. There's two things about this story that are fucking mind blowing to me. Okay, mind blowing. All right. So obviously these things are super classified, right? So posting them, not a good idea, right? Okay. The media just absolutely puts their like apparatus of the state hats on and just gets bloodthirsty for this kid. The New York Times publishes this kid's fucking information before law enforcement does.
Oh, wow.
Like they put it out to the public. They kick up the manhunt, right? Which is
what were the documents about?
Ukraine.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains it then.
And that gets into the other absolutely insane aspect of this, right? And I'll preface this like all tried and true alpha male quasi political podcasters by saying this is something I heard, right? So, you know, fuck your fact check. These documents seem to confirm that there are just straight up American soldiers like formally stationed in Ukraine right now without the public knowing.
I mean, I believe that 100%. I just would assume that off rip.
See, I would not have assumed that. I would not have assumed that because, like, as much as the government can lie about anything and everything, and it's safe to assume they are, this is the power of nuclear weapons, right? Like, you know, credit where credit's due, right? Like, the threat of mutually assured destruction is like a fucking credible one, and like that genuinely does enforce behavior on governments.
Definitely.
Right. And so I really thought that that wasn't going to be the case.
I mean, dude, we've been fucking poking at them with proxies for fucking decades now, and it's the same thing essentially. And like, I'm sure they don't have people over there under like flying the U.S. flag on their uniform, probably, but they probably have covert like people stationed over there. or entire units stationed over there, but I doubt they're like advertising the U.S. military presence. Hence, this being a leak.
Totally. So yeah, man. I mean that fucking freaks me out.
Yeah, that's fucked, dude. They've been. I mean, I think over here generally it's been quiet about the Ukraine and Russia thing because like people are just like, it's over there. It doesn't have much to do with me. People are tired of hearing about it because like, what are we gonna do about it? And like, how am I supposed to believe what I'm seeing or not? But every
Yeah, I've
day,
definitely seen a calming of like the psychic airwaves around this issue.
definitely. But I don't think that's like congruent with what's happening on the ground with the state of like the war. I think it's like probably amping up a little bit because anytime I see something like filter onto my phone or whatever about the war, it's always about like Finland joined the fucking NATO or something like
Well,
that.
which is also a fucking bad thing.
Right. Yeah, majorly bad. And like so that means like that's a ratcheting up of tensions, and people are sending tanks or whatever over there. So yeah, I imagine we have people over there. In my mind, like we've got people like CIA type operatives or people in that kind of manner where they're like not wearing an
Well,
American uniform.
this is I don't know. I can't say 100% if these people are covert or not, but as I understand it, these are like American soldiers. These are like American soldiers.
Okay, so like people in the army.
Yes,
Okay.
and listen, right? Like proxy wars, all of this kind of we fight conflicts bounced off of mirrors after World War II, right? That's the way it's been, right? Like big powers, great powers on the global stage don't get in like outright
Direct
conflicts anymore, right? There's like a lot of really big fucking reasons for that. And so even though it's one of these things, right, the fucking the Solzhenitsyn thing of like, we know they're lying, they know we know they're lying, blah 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 blah, right? Like we all know that the proxy shit is bullshit, but it still doesn't mean that like the symbolic value of it doesn't hold a humongous fucking weight. And the fact that they're actually fucking, it's all just basically just to say like the fact that they're really authentically there is horrifying to me.
I like the new rules of war, like in the modern era, is that you don't actually go face to face. You like train up armies in other like shithole countries that can fight in that area against the armies that they trained up, but you don't go face to face. Or you can pitch in with whoever they're fighting against, but you can't actually be over there.
100%. And again, like there are like laws written, international agreements, right? Which is one thing. Obviously, like the Bush years were like a pretty big hit on the legitimacy of those in the public eye. But the biggest thing, obviously, is what I was just talking about, which is fucking nuclear arms, dude. Nuclear fucking arms, and just the fact that like in the global system, right? Everyone is so interconnected, right? And this interdependency and everything that, you kind of, in theory, aren't supposed to have, people that are economically, grafted at the fucking hip, fighting in hot conflicts. But that doesn't, stop them from doing it. Anyways, apparently this kid, had said, I guess, on the server that he had like really regretted joining the U.S. military, which really stuck out to me, because I don't know, I've just been thinking about this recently. I've been thinking about this recently because I saw a video the other day that Sam Hyde released where he was talking about like, I think someone had like asked him, about like being in the army and stuff, and he had just said some poignant stuff on it. And in my own life, I had known people that had like seriously kind of toyed with joining the military. I think the military is kind of like the original Jordan Peterson for a lot of dudes.
It's definitely adds structure and discipline and stuff, and people can see it as like a guiding force when they don't have any other kind of animating or force.
Exactly. I mean, it's like Dude, the army for a lot of people is them just like getting like a fucking Mr. Miyagi or something,
Yeah.
basically, right? Like it's fucking the people want the military to be their dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a really fucking horrible idea, obviously for so many fucking reasons, not
Yeah.
least of which being that that's like that's obviously a wrongheaded reason to get
Mm-hmm.
involved in American imperialism.
Right. And it's also heartbreaking too, because like that
It destroys
typically means
people.
that they don't have a good like upbringing. They don't have a strong, unit at home that's providing them with what they're looking for from the army, or they maybe have financial reasons just pushing them into like that's the only thing they can see is I don't have much money. I don't really have a good strong family home. I'd like to be able to go off, get some sense of discipline, straighten my life up, make some money, be able to provide. And like the army comes into high schools and stuff and sells that to like, wayward youth and whatnot. And I've even seen armies at like fucking music festivals and stuff, army booths, which is nuts to me
Shit.
because it's like, dude, imagine you're like spun out or something, and or someone is like, people take substances and then they get out of their mind. And I've definitely seen people that are like would probably be making decisions that they wouldn't otherwise. And like, imagine you just walk up and then you wake up the next morning and you're in the fucking army. That would be crazy.
That would be fucking
That's
crazy,
fucked
dude.
and unethical, but that's what they do. And yeah, I mean, I think you're right about. I think people go into it because they're young, they want something, some sense of discipline, some sense of direction. Mostly, I feel like most people are just kind of floundering around, and that gives you like a place to be, a thing to do, a full schedule. You have superiors, a built-in hierarchy that you fall into that you can move up in theoretically, and this that, and the other. And also, it's going to promise to make you fit, which a lot of people are having problems with these days. It's going to make you someone who can take control of things around you. And most people are pushovers and let people do whatever. And so these things are appealing to them. And yeah, I think it does ruin people psychologically, though. Um,
100%. I'm like I'm like having flashbacks to listening to like being like a 10-year-old Slav listening to BYOB by System of a Down. Just like, fuck yeah, dude. Fuck the army, dude. No, but seriously, like I said, I've known people in my life that kind of romanticize this
oh
in
yeah,
this way,
no doubt.
I've known people who got out of the fucking armed forces and out of the military and were fucked, dude.
Yeah, me
Were
too, man.
fucked, dude. At a job I worked, like at a bar, there was like there's this old Marine that would come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like a really chill guy. He had like some fucking weird fucked up speech impediment or something from like
Oh sure.
hearing loss that he suffered. Um, and it was just the kind of thing. He's nice, but then just like, dude, you catch him on the off day, and you'll fucking go to his table. He's fucking crying, and
Mm-hmm.
will like call you a fucking bitch or something, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is wild, dude. Like this guy is living in hell.
Yeah, man. I
Um,
worked with when I worked at this like community garden type situation. They had a program there with veterans where they
yeah,
would teach them like train them in how to do farming, small scale farming and agriculture, to give them some sort of like occupation that keeps them physically busy. It also kind of like is something where you can be not really in the public and whatnot like too much. But anyways, yeah, I worked with a couple of veterans that for sure had some serious psychological issues. One of which was someone who was stationed on a nuclear submarine. And so he would be
damn,
underwater on a submarine for like long, long, long periods of time. I mean,
fucking
just,
pressure cooker, bro.
yeah, dude. I mean, just being in there without going through military training that's already going to fuck you up in the head, and without the like possible PTSD, like of, guilt and such for being a part of like this giant war machine. Like, just even being down in a submarine that long would be fucked for your mental state. And then couple that with everything else. So yeah, he definitely had some relationship issues, just as far as like difficult to maintain a good working relationship with people. Would kind of snap every now and again with anger fits and just stuff like that. Just like wasn't stable in a way that he should have been at his age and in that state of life.
Dude, honestly, man, like this kind of just reminds me of, you're talking about like the guilt of being involved in all that fucking
Yeah.
bullshit. And it makes me think of, how, Trump just has military support, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just has the support of like veterans and people like that. I think that was a big anxiety that was fueling this kind of like changing of the guard,
Oh, definitely.
no pun intended, of the military when Biden first came in.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about it, right? And it's just like, think about that thing you said, right? Just feeling shitty about this fucked up thing you're involved in. And like, and then this guy comes on stage at the fucking debate, right? And is
Mm-hmm.
like, Iraq and Afghanistan were a fucking mess. It was a big mistake. They fucking lied. You guys are phonies. And it's just like, dude, like imagine being a guy who, I mean, this shit ruined your life. This shit ruined
Yeah.
your life. This shit ruined like you.
Mm-hmm.
That's gotta be, I mean, again, I mean, that's kind of Trump in a nutshell, right? It's just like, it's just
Absolutely.
basically just running on the fumes of those debates for the rest of his career. But it still, like hearing that, imagine hearing that after you like saw your buddy get blown up by a fucking mine.
Right. From a place of authority, or like someone who is in a place where they could, theoretically ascend to a higher place of authority as well. And they're saying that, and you haven't heard someone say that in that situation before. You haven't heard someone who's like even tangentially involved with government actually admit that kind of thing. Like they'll admit now, oh, Iraq was a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. But they won't. They were all voting for it when it happened, and they weren't actually like really taking the time to sit around and think about it and put the pause on it like they should have. They were all just kind of jumping down the throat of it. And so you hear someone actually say that, and like, yeah, it's gotta be shocking and powerful. I mean, I wasn't a part of any type of veteran, nothing, but I heard it and I'm like, yeah, damn right, bro.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, dude, I think that's a thing with a lot. I think most veterans that come back are probably disillusioned in that way. I mean, at least most of the ones that I've ever encountered.
Well, dude, think about it like this, right? You either get disillusioned, you either get completely disillusioned on the dream by going there and basically being like a mall security guard
Yeah.
for like a political occupation,
Mm-hmm.
and just the absolute fucking like bureaucratic doldrum of it all, or you get disillusioned by like becoming physically and mentally and emotionally ruined
Yeah.
by just trauma. And so, neither of which is like a healthy output for the state to be, putting out there,
No, definitely not.
for themselves, at least. I mean, couldn't happen to a nicer bunch, right? As far as people getting disillusioned in the state. But I mean, like, if it, that's not a healthy stabilizing thing.
Not at all.
And that kind of gets me to, another thing. And this is actually something I really don't want to talk about for very long. And I'm sure you probably agree. Maybe you don't, but I don't think we have ended up talking about the Trump arrest yet. Had we talked about that? I think we talked about it very, very, very briefly.
We talked about it briefly before it ever actually happened, like when it was still this like possible thing that Trump was going to get arraigned and this and that, the other. It was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So I mean, I was wrong. I said that I don't think he's going to get arrested, and he did get arrested.
Mm-hmm.
But the spirit of what I was getting at remains true. I'm getting on a technicality here, okay? Because it looks like, well, here it's. I mean, okay. I mean, how much do you know about this?
I know a decent bit. Like, I know I looked into it when I saw that like they actually had pressed the charges against him, and I wanted to see what they were, and then I saw that they were all these fucking like basically just this new bullshit that's like this one district attorney is reading it in this one type of way, and he's trying to essentially you know try a new charges that haven't actually been used before, and there's no real precedent for in the court of law. So like in my mind it's not actually going to happen. It's not going to actually get convicted. And then also, yeah, it's all about the Stormy fucking Daniels thing, and who fucking cares, dude? So yeah, I mean that was my thing on that.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, this DA comes in and I mean, look, I'm not gonna be like super foaming at the mouth pro MAGA about this or anything. I'm just gonna kind of like call it how I see it, which is basically you get this guy coming in. He's apparently he's trying to charge Trump on like a felony, right? And it's a felony on it's the quid pro quo stuff, right? With it paying this broad off, and then I think just kind of like some of the falsifying shit in court
Yeah, business
around
records.
it. This is all misdemeanors that like theoretically with some legalese fucking just weird technicality stuff can basically be in theory turned into a felony.
Yeah.
This is stuff that had come across another DA's desk who was just like, no, that's a waste of time.
Yeah, I saw that.
Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of gets to my main thing, right? Which is, I think this is basically a big nothing, right? But it's basically already served its purpose, right? Which is reintroducing Trump into the culture. Okay. We're getting to primary season. And again, like it is really, I mean, Oren the other day was talking about how like it's so far off, but like it's not. What was that?
I was saying we're basically gearing up into it right now, and I'm not seeing any type of like movement on the surfaces that seems like we are. So that's something that's strange to me. But
exactly, this is kind of my take on it. Is like it really isn't that far, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking crazy. It's crazy to me how little of it that we're seeing and all that. And this is, in my mind, this is the biggest thing kicking off primary season, which is they've got to let him back into their little spyglass view of the world and culture. And so what they're going to do is they're going to slowly reintroduce him on terms that they're completely in control of, right? And that are
like in the media
generally
and stuff like that, or
yes.
Okay.
And generally just unflattering and weakening to him every step of the way. Does that make sense? Like this is the controlled reintroduction of him into the world.
Yeah, I could see that. I definitely feel like it's them trying to just kind of like snuff him out, like not snuff him out in a way of like, killing him, yeah, or getting rid of him in that way, but snuffing him out just by saying like, hey, we're trying to basically like take any credibility he has left, which is in the eyes of them, I would think none, because fucking if you're already on the media circuits, but like around him,
Right.
then I mean, I don't see what this really does for that. But yeah, I think that you're probably kind of right there. I think that they're basically like just trying to quiet him down, and you're right, they do have to kind of let him back in because he's not on anything. Like you can't just let a man run for president and then not let him have any way of like getting out in front of people. So I could see them, being like, all right, well, he's still alive, he's still here, look at him, but he is this like
Look
criminal,
at him.
goonish man.
Right. It's controlling the symbolic Donald Trump and not the literal Donald Trump. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, right? They knew that this wasn't going to work. Okay? It's not about actually legally getting him. It's not about actually incarcerating him. Like it's none of that is actually what any of this is about, right? What it is about is controlling the optics and the media presence, right? And in that, because he needed to come back at some point, right? And so he comes back on their terms. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they're gonna let him get on any type of social media again at all.
What you're not following him on Truth Social?
Yeah, Truth Social and Rumble and fuck, bro, dude. I was actually on a Rumble the other day for the first time ever because I found out, I'm not sure if you've heard about this before, but there's this thing. My friend came over, he showed me a video, and there's this thing called DAP, and it's Dads Against Predators. Have you ever heard of this group?
Okay. No,
Okay,
I
dude.
haven't.
Okay, holy shit. So the way we found out about it is that most recently, like a couple weekends ago, this comedian Big J Okerson,
Okay.
he went out and like was a part of one of their operations for the weekend and like live streamed it. But essentially, this is this group of dads, and they're based out of. There's some in Ohio, there's some in like North Carolina, and there's some in Detroit, and there's different chapters throughout the United States.
Okay.
And they're these dads that they go out there and they like they'll go on like random websites and apps that you talk to people on, like to meet up for.
Well, they like catfish pedophiles.
Yeah, they catfish pedophiles with like a fake. They'll be like, "I'm 13 years old. Is that cool with you?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, that's cool with me. Meet me here." And then they go meet them there, and then they just like basically just sit them down, and they're like, "Hey, guess what, dude? I was the person that was talking to you." And then they'll just yell to everyone. Like usually it's a mall or like something like that. And then they'll just get megaphones out or they'll yell and they'll be like, "This guy's here. He's a predator. He's here to fuck a 13-year-old. He's here to meet up with a 13-year-old." And then basically we'll just kind of put them on blast in front of everyone. They'll run away a lot or they'll kind of like, they'll do shit like that.
They're just to catch a predator.
They're basically to catch a predating these guys, but it's just some
Predatoring
dudes.
is a difficult verb.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. I stumbled on that one, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, as I was saying it, I was like, let's see how I do. Yeah. I landed on my feet.
Yeah, I did not. I fumbled that one, but
it's all good, man.
Dude, the content though, it's crazy. So there's this group, DAP, and that's what they do. And that's the first time I've ever been on Rumble before. And the reason why is because that's the only thing that they're allowed on now. They were on YouTube and they like were getting some good traction and stuff, but they got some chapters that are tied up in some assault charges and some possible murder charges.
Some possible murder, bro. What?
It's so based, yeah. There's some people in like North Carolina that are wanted for murdering this guy or shooting this guy, attempted murder. And they were like 3 dads that were members of this DAP organization, and they're now on the run and this and that the other. I read an article though, and it was like, "We're here with Dwayne Perkins fucking Wade," or whatever the hell. Not Dwayne Wade, but
Dwayne Wade.
It's not
Dwayne Wade is wrapped up.
But he was like, "It's we're here with Dwayne Perkins fucking whatever." And then this guy was actually the predator, because the other 3 are on the run still, and this guy survived like the shooting. And he's like, "Yeah, I was here and they tricked me. I was here to meet up with somebody," and they left out of the article that it was a 13-year-old. But
that's wild.
Yeah, and it says like the men had been harassing him, blah 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 blah. That was the framing of the article, which is just kind of crazy. But yeah, so Rumble, bro, not a lot of people on there. Only a few thousand views on these videos. So
Dude, okay. One of the problem with these, this is totally kind of a side note, but one of these problems with other platforms is just that Twitter works rarely because not every single person that's on Twitter is there for politics, right? Whereas like Rumble Rumble's the YouTube one,
Rumble's
right?
like the YouTube kind of version,
right? Okay. What's the other? There's like Gab. It's like Twitter.
Yeah, Gab. I don't know if that exists anymore. I feel like it shut down. Or no. That might be Parler.
I think you might be thinking of Parler.
Yeah, that's Parler. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Parler's a perfect. Parler's kind of a funny example because, dude, Parler was a honeypot.
Yeah, Parler was fucked from the jump, dude.
Yeah, Parler's straight up a honeypot. But no, man, like it's just one of these things. Like, if square one of your platform is getting disenfranchised political people onto your platform, and these are keep in mind, like these are platforms that are trying to have broad appeal, right?
You will not have broad appeal when you start off with that.
And I mean general appeal, not appeal to women. And
we got some broad appeal on this one. We're checking
like
the
like
broads.
it's literally the business model of like a platform like this, right? Like you need a lot of people on it, or else it's not a platform.
No doubt.
If it's right out of the gate political, it's gonna be cringe and annoying. And
Dude,
suck.
the Rumble homepage. Okay, I downloaded the Rumble on my Roku 2. So I was surprised that they had it in the Roku store.
Who are you, man?
But I was surprised they had it on the Roku store, but they did. And dude, once it finally downloaded after about 15 fucking minutes, I'm looking at the home screen and it is nuts, dude. It's just like, okay, the very top, I just looked up on my phone now just to read off some of them. The very top video. Now, this may be just my feed. I don't know. I don't know what kind of algorithm or what they're working with. Who knows? I've never been on here, though, so I don't know if they got me now or what. But the very top one is a Donald Trump Jr. video, and it says, America First legal founder Stephen Miller on suing Biden in 2024 strategy. Triggered, episode 25.
Yep.
And then like the next ones are just like some like I don't even know what the hell. Kimberly Guilfoyle, big breaking news about details and just like Biden's raid on Mar-a-Lago and stuff like this. It's just a bunch of fucking. It's 100% pigeonholed into what it is. You know what I mean? Like there's no difference of content on here at all, even on the homepage.
No, 100%. Like the most mainstream people that they have on there is like Candace Owens, basically. Yeah. This is. I mean, this is. I don't know if you're familiar with like who like Rod Dreher is, but he's like he's kind of like a fucking. He like writes for the New York Times, and he's like kind of like a trad cath guy, but he like writes for the New York Times.
For the New York Times.
Yeah, he's like a right wing Catholic guy, but again, he's like the token guy like that.
Oh Lord,
for the New York Times. So he's a mess. He's a mess. Right? Yeah. I mean, his new thing is just like being afraid of white supremacy and shit. Right.
Oh sure.
But and as far as I'm concerned, like those people like are the worst of the worst. But
I'm just not sure it exists anymore like that, dude. Like, I'm not sold on any of that shit. I was just like, this past week, there's some new trans shit that had happened. And so a bunch of people I know in my local area are like posting all this stuff about like, we're living in a white supremacist, male patriarchy, fucking blah, 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 like, it's just long list of shit. And they throw white supremacist on there, even though it has nothing to do with trans people at all. It's just like, that's just a new thing that they just throw around, and it's so fucking frustrating, bro. Because it's like,
yeah, no, 100 white supremacy isn't real.
What is that, bro? Like,
yeah, no, that it's not. I mean, yeah, no. Well, this is the whole linguistic game they play, right? Is you say white supremacy isn't real insofar as how they're using it, right?
Right, but then if you get caught saying, "Oh, white supremacy isn't real," then they can hit you with the quick gotcha moment of,
and then they just go like, "Oh, you're denying that there's ever been people that burned crosses."
Right,
you know what I mean? It's just the Black Lives Matter trick, right?
Yeah, dude.
Where it's just like name your organization that like kills puppies. Puppies are good, and then just say puppies are good is bad, and then they say, "Oh, so you think puppies are bad?" And you're like, "No,
the transitive property."
It's the dumbest fucking shit. But in the most embarrassing thing is it works so fucking.
It does,
well.
Dude.
Anyways, his whole thing. I mean, I just shit on Rod Dreher, but like his whole thing was like the Benedict option, which is just basically like people. I think he was talking about Christians, but like the right in general, it's just like he's just like his whole thing was basically just like, they got to just disconnect from the culture and just kind of do this total parallelism thing. Just build your own separate institutions and just disconnect.
Similar to what Aaron was talking about.
Yeah, and it's true, and it's good to a certain extent. But I look at shit like what we're talking about here, and it's just like, this shit is so fucking cringe, dude.
Right.
Like, Gab is not what that shit is.
Right.
You know it when you see it, and like like actual real meaningful cultural production is not happening on fucking Gab on the Triggered podcast with Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah.
Like, are you give me a fucking break?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a problem with like everyone's getting like so niche about everything, like, and then they want to have their niche opinion be like the broad appeal, and then they get shocked when that's not what it is. And so like when you have this idea of like, oh, let's make new institutions and stuff like this because these other ones are overrun and they're not serving anyone any good, you hear people that hear that and they're like, oh, hell yeah, let me go make this institution exactly to my niche opinions and views and this and that the other and fill it with just that. And it's like, well, that's not a fucking institution, that's just a little corner, dude. Like, an institution needs to have the weight behind it. That's how it becomes institutionalized. Like,
well, there's like 1,000 different reasons for why. I mean, in my mind, we're talking about power, right?
Mhm.
We're talking about the in so many words, it's building institutions that can actually build and wield power, right? And like, is it a problem that like no one's heterodox in any of these institutions? Like, yeah, maybe, right? There's like 1,000 different reasons for why you could build just like dead on arrival institutions, but yeah, honestly, I don't even want to necessarily like try to put my finger on exactly the reason for why these things are duds, because there's so many fucking reasons. But like, but if I was to just give one as my safest bet, it's the fact that these aren't institutions meant to build and accrue power and exercise power. This is entertainment. This is an entertainment industry thing.
Yeah.
And it really kind of is just as simple as that. I remember there was like a Thomas 777 post a couple years ago that I saw that was just like, we need to just like get rid of the people who consume infotainment. And it's like a hyperbolic joke, but like it's true, right? Because this whole, it's the Reddit brain thing, right? Of just being like, I'm just gonna listen to all of these podcasts, these like Radio Lab NPR podcasts that are gonna cultivate this annoying lib expert brain thing, right? And more than anything, the real danger of it to me is that you consume this shit, and you think it's and it's tricking you that it's good for you.
Yeah.
Right. It's like health food. It's like fucking TV dinners that market themselves as healthy. Right. It's like, that's bad. Right. Like, at least McDonald's has no illusions about it anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And infotainment in that way is like in my mind, is a real threat,
dude.
Just because. Oh, go ahead.
It reminds me of kind of what y'all were talking about on your Rare Candy episode, when you were talking about like reading and the importance of reading, and then like how people are like online all day long reading like tweets and stuff on their phone, endless bullshit, but like that's not actually a reading. Like, it's not actually a substitution for sitting down and reading and like reading comprehension and soaking stuff in. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, you're not actually getting information and you're not actually bettering yourself, and it's not actually entertaining. Like, what the fuck is it?
What, dude? 100%. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, my fiance has been watching this like really fucking cringe, like CW TV show. And she's been watching like the fucking reboot of Charmed, right? So it's like one of these fucking like, kind of low budget TV shows, and it's like about witches, right? It's like a teenager show. I'm shitting on this too much because she'll probably hear this and get annoyed at me. But like, point is she's watching this, right? And I'm like, oh, bleh, like, girls, oh, you're being so embarrassing, right? But the fact is, right, is that like you throw something like that on, and you're like, I know that this is stupid,
yeah,
right? And like, I'm not gonna say that stuff's harmless, because nothing is fucking harmless, right? But like, if it was selling itself as like educational and bettering you as a person, it's way more insidious.
Yeah, it's so much worse.
And infotainment is like that, and that's that I think that's a part of the kind of the gab shit. I mean, that's a part of, it's not, obviously it's not just the right that has this,
right,
that has this thing, but honestly, this feels like another, I'm never going to, now that like I'm the one like in charge of kind of leading the episodes after like 3 fucking years of not doing this. I'm never gonna smoothly do a segue, and I'm always gonna be annoyingly self-aware like I am right now. But this seems like a good segue into, ladies and gentlemen, Lizzo was on the latest Star Wars thing.
Bro, dude, I saw people talking about that, and that's fucking crazy. I haven't seen it. I don't watch that shit or nothing, but like,
this is DEFCON 5, ladies and gentlemen. This is it's over. It's over for Western civilization.
Holy fuck.
Obviously I'm being sarcastic about this.
Fucking
right?
Jon Favreau, dude, that little cunt.
Jon Favreau. So I have not watched Star Wars in quite a long time. This is my whole angle on it, right? This is my whole angle on it. Okay. All right. I see things like this, right? And I see the empowerment narrative stuff, the pro regime stuff, and then I obviously see the kind of like controlled opposition, anti-woke industry stuff, right? And I just see this stuff, and you know what I say to myself, that what I think, right, is that I am just so thankful that I, once you just wake up to how completely fucked our entire culture is, you just see it in everything, and you can't unsee it, and it becomes I'm not going to say it becomes pretty easy, because there are a lot of people that then just get hooked on the counter propaganda industry. But like, I made the decision to just be like, yeah, I just like don't give a shit about this stuff anymore. I'm never gonna watch another fucking Disney thing again, because who gives a shit about that, dude? And I see the spurging out about this stuff, and it makes me just so fucking glad that I have no part in this anymore. I'm like Dr. Manhattan in fucking Watchmen. I'm just like, I like the people of Earth. I want none of this anymore. You know what I mean? This doesn't concern me anymore. Yeah. And yeah, bro. So I guess that was, I guess, what I kind of wanted to talk about, using the Lizzo thing as a springboard is basically just like, I don't know, where are you at with the culture? What's your philosophy with it? I mean, we were just kind of talking about that kind of like parallelism, disengaging and having your own institutions. I'm not an anarchist, definitely, importantly, but I guess I'm a little more anarchistic in this way, which is like, as far as cultural production goes, at least right now, I personally, the beat that I'm marching to is that I'm just all about like making my own memories, making my own in jokes and values and lore with my friends, And
like, dude, I'm talking, refer to it as lore.
That's I know. So, I was just gonna say, I was like, I just kind of stumbled into that, but I like it. Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, when we see shit like this, that's so fucking retarded.
Oh my god!
And yeah,
it makes me nauseous. I don't know. These
people make me sick.
These people are sick, and I try not to let it make me sick. That's the real thing. Because it's real easy. It's real easy, right, to be in the position that we're in, where you're disillusioned with the culture, and you're looking at it and you're seeing, there's these two fucking stupid ass sides, ultimately, that it's all kind of boiling down to in politics and in culture, and that's kind of like this big machine, and they're trying to sell everyone on both of it, and people are just eating it up. And why are these people so foolish, and why are they doing this all the time, and why is the culture so retarded? And it's real easy to get into
why do you do this?
Why do you do this? You eat the butt.
They eat the poo-poo.
Why you eating this poo-poo? You are transgender. No, I don't know. It's real easy to get into a place where you can be like start thinking about yourself as higher than everyone else around you, because you're like, all these people are retarded because they like to watch fucking Charmed, or they like to watch fucking
I love you, honey.
or it's like, or they like to watch Lizzo, or like they've been going to Lizzo concerts, or they watched fucking Jon Favreau's creations, or they're caught up
The
in the New York
creations of
Times.
Jon Favreau.
Yeah, nightmares is what those are called.
That sounds like how like Guillermo del Toro markets his movies. Like from the mind of Guillermo del Toro, a new creation. I don't know why I made him French, by the way.
Yeah, I like that though. It's like, from the mind of Jon Favreau, new bullshit.
Some new bullshit from this fat fuck.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, I think I try to be real careful with that, because I'm trying to get to a place of disengaging from it, but without trying to do it in like a cynical
Hateful
or
way.
snide way, or in a way that makes me more prideful in any way. Trying to realize that I myself get caught up in stupid things and fandoms and stuff that I enjoy that are outside of maybe the broader cultural thing, but trying to kind of ground it in that, because I think that it can be real isolating to be in that position. Being like, man, everything around me, like everyone's retarded, and like I have nothing to talk to about with these people, or anything like that. And that doesn't mean you need to go out there and like engage with the shitty culture so you can have talking points whenever you go into wherever fucking place you're meeting with people who are going to be talking about the newest cultural phenomena. But
They're talking about that genocide on trans children.
Oh my god. But yeah, I'm
sorry, I'm baiting you. I'm sorry.
I try not to get too caught up with it. I think it's dumb. I definitely I see it and I get sickened by it, and then I try to immediately fight that feeling, and try to immediately be like, view it with grace, because that's something that I don't really enjoy feeling. I don't like that, because I feel that it opens up the door more so to look down on the people around you and distance yourself from the people around you, and so it's frustrating. And then it doesn't mean that like I don't critique culture, because that's all that I fucking do basically on this podcast, and that's like what we do fundamentally. And like, there's a lot to critique there, and there's a lot of problems with it, and our cultural output is disheartening
and also like I think this was kind of a timeless Fed post thing, but it's just like ultimately, like I think we both do agree, like the culture war unfortunately is in a lot of its fronts worth fighting still, because like depending on how you want to define it, because like the trans children stuff, for instance, right? I mean, you need to oppose shit that's evil, right? That's you get what I'm saying, right? But continue.
When the common cultural output right now of like our current state of like American life, or whatever the like PMC cultural product is, that is now kind of forced on everyone's throat, is anti-life. Fundamentally it is dark. It leads to depression. It leads to pretty much just all exaggerations and amplifications of human suffering, and it's really frustrating in that way, because it you look around and you see movies that are glorifying just kind of like these ego kind of things that people look for, very materialistic, very shallow, very dark, and also very like anti life, anti nature, anti God, anti community. Yeah, anti-natalist, like, which is like
that's really the big one.
Well, I mean,
that's
that's just tied up in the whole thing. Like, that is indicative of like the whole idea and packages the culture is now kind of tied up and wrapped up in and trying to sell. But I think that it's important to push back against that. I think it's important to try to create your own thing, like you're talking about. Create your own lore with the people around you. Be a brighter light within the darkening culture. I think that's important. I mean, I create art and music, and I try to do that as much as I can. I try to support the other people around me that are creating things that are in the area of culture that I would like to see, and in a way that is outside of the back and forth, the typical dichotomy, the typical, kind of cultural tug of war that's always going on.
It's a Disneyland ride. It's
Yeah.
a Disneyland ride. It's a Disneyland ride, and you need to get out of the pre-laid out tracks of it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean, and I think that this was the critical and lethal hazard of the anti-woke left, right? That ended up basically, for the most part, killing it, right? Which is, with obviously some notable exceptions. I mean, yeah, which is, just because the culture war is fucking bullshit doesn't mean that like having basic moral principles was what was wrong with it, right?
I think that, like, for me, a view on like culture war and the necessity of the culture war or whatever, I think that the culture war is important in the sense that like culture permeates all of life on a very immediate level. It's what you're watching, it's what you're talking about with your coworkers or your friends, it's what you're listening to, it's what you're consuming in general, it's what all the people around you are consuming and listening to. It's very influential, and not just really influential, but it's there. Like it's just a fact of life. And it's kind of present in every aspect of your life as the general overall superstructure. And like that's where I think is a good way of understanding is like a cultural thing is more of a superstructure on top of a base that is material that kind of leads and builds that. Like you build the values of a culture with your material organization and structuring and how that's being run, and you also and how power systems are playing out. And I think that ultimately it creates a culture, and then the culture is caught in a feedback loop. It's kind of dialectic with the material, financial conditions, economic, conditions of your culture. And I think that that's where people don't like. That's not a take that you're hearing. Like that's the obvious nuanced take, and it's not even very nuanced. That's just like a nothing take of just common sense. But I think that the problem is everyone gets caught up in it, like culture just doesn't matter or culture is everything. And it's neither of those things. Culture is so important and so prevalent, but like you're not just going to be able to change the culture without also changing the structural underpinnings that are creating that culture. And you can't just like completely create a new culture and it be whatever you want to, and know that you can do that through just setting material change. Like you can't just set material changes in place and be like, this is what this culture is going to be that comes out of this. You don't really know, because there's going to be a process that's evolutionary that kind of takes place out of that, and dialectic, and they feed back into each other. But you also can't just like go and be like, well, we want all the culture to be different in this way, but we're not going to change anything that's actually creating the culture. We're not going to change the material conditions of everyone's lives. We're just going to try to force this culture to be different. That doesn't work. And I think that's what the problem is with the culture war, is that that's what people try to do with it.
100%. 100%. I think within post-modernity, that kind of loop, that cycle, that loop between base and superstructure, like between our material conditions and our culture, it doesn't necessarily have as clear an origin anymore,
right. Yeah.
as
tighter.
the kind of exactly as it not as clear as like the kind of orthodox Marxist reading has been, right? But and so in that way, like the culture is a front in which like interests of workers or just where class struggle can be, I guess, kind of fought, right? And I don't know that most people would disagree with that, but yeah, I mean, an important, I guess, little asterisk to put on there. I mean, 100%, and I mean, we in America, we get like a triple heaping serving of culture war, and are really pretty I guess what's the word I want to use here? Pretty illiterate on most other things
Right.
politically. But
And that's, I think, a big problem too. And I think that's where like a lot of the people that are on the like more anti-woke left are like culture war doesn't matter. I think it's like a reactionary response to the emphasis of culture within American politics, because that's all that it
yeah.
is.
Well, and I think also it's worth noting that I think that a big part of that is also
Most of them are winning the culture war too, or they're on the side that's like they're not worried about the trans kids and that kind of thing and this and that the other. So like to them,
well,
the culture war isn't as important too.
well, yeah, and I mean it's a hell of a lot more comfortable to
Right.
not rock that boat, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
you just can't say that shit, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think the big thing too is that I think for people that genuinely don't care about that, right? I think that a big thing is just, bro, people need to go back and like acknowledge that like they were wrong about a lot of shit,
Oh, of
and
course. People
like
hate to do that though, because
people
that
hate to do that. And a big thing for me, and this is like kind of my go-to thing that I'll say when I'm talking to people about this, and it is 100% off-putting, and I don't mean to say it to win hearts and minds. Shame on me, I guess, but just the whole like, dude, like coming up listening to fucking Jon Stewart on the Daily Show a ton as a kid, and just getting all of those lessons and all of that programming put into me, like it was rotten from that point.
yeah.
You know, it goes back a ways, and like this isn't just like a, oh man, like I'm just annoyed by the woke skulls. It's like, no,
Oh no.
like the woke skulls are able to be effective political actors because like our view of the world is like operating on
It's
like I guess like
inversed.
the you know well the hegemonic ideas and assumptions about the way the world is, that permeate our culture,
Hmm.
right? Like in a lot of ways the fucking absolutely deranged woke skulls are like are operating on a more honest and straightforward reading of that.
I mean, they're 100%. Yeah,
And,
definitely.
and I think that people that are just doing the thing by going like, I just want to turn back the clock to the 90s, right?
I mean, she was fucked, irreplaceable, like just beyond repair at that point too. It's just that like that was a time that just felt a little more comfortable. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, the 90s was like the height of, I guess, like race relations in the United States. It like there were some positive things that I get about it,
But the
right? But I
culture,
mean,
dude.
no, well, and this is like to your point, right? Which is just like the cultural bug of liberalism. You know, the rot goes back quite some
Yeah.
ways, right? Um,
That's my
and
thing
yeah,
with the
that
culture
needs to be
war.
kept
It's
in
like
mind.
it's in totality. That's the problem. The culture war is so prevalent within American politics, and it's so sectioned off. It's just like it's individual issue after individual issue and this after another, and we're just going to try to change this one thing about trans people, we're going to try to change this one thing about fucking race relations, or this one thing about whatever.
Well,
but
they're
it
gonna change one thing about fucking, all right.
but it's all tied together and it's all one thing, and it's not just one thing. Like the culture is just one thing by itself, and it's separate from spiritual ideas or economic machinations or anything like that. um, it's it's all tied in. So like there needs to be a deep evaluation of all aspects of human life, and like that includes culture, but it also includes material conditions. It also includes power structures and things beyond that, and you can't just address one thing and expect it to stay or work without actually seeing it in its whole holistic view. And that's what I think, like where people get frustrated with culture war, and where like people are just hitting their heads against the wall with it too, is because like that's what they're trying to do.
Well,
Or
I think that's also why just like explaining, and maybe this is a hard sell to some people hearing this, because I'm not exactly like the biggest like outreach guy. I'm like not a particularly good arguer. I like don't really believe in language's capacity to fucking save normies.
Right.
But like, you know, if you talk to a normie and you just kind of like explain the case against the professional managerial class,
Mm-hmm.
and like, man, like, just understand, like, you know, we can see this here and here, and they're like, oh man, like, you know, like, yeah, like, I have seen these cultural trends. I do see brew pubs pop up all over the fucking place for some reason, right? I do. You know, what is with this flat design of stuff, right?
Right.
And this is, and as a side note, like, this is like, in my mind, out of the Catholic playbook, right? Which is aesthetics reach people because it's truth and beauty,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, you know, when somebody can be totally secular, but go to like a huge cathedral,
Mm-hmm.
and even if it doesn't stick with them forever, like, they're gonna see God and
Dude.
know the truth in that.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean,
this
bro,
doesn't
one
need
of
to be a
my
whole
more meaningful experiences on my more recent spiritual journey was like a couple years ago. I went and sat in a big ass basilica, just like as a tourist kind of thing. And I was in there and I was like, I feel like I want to go to confession right now. I don't even know why. And
it's
then
beautiful.
yeah, I mean, just so there's definitely something to that. But sorry, that was a side point. I didn't want to.
Oh, no, it's good shit, man. And the point is, right, is just like, you know, you can pill people on the aesthetic stuff, on a lot of the cultural stuff. And I think that wasn't ultimately my point. My point is that, like, is the case against the PMC
Mm-hmm.
is a really strong one that actually, like, normies are reasonably open to.
I mean, especially your everyday working class people, dude, because like those are the people who are in a day-to-day basis fucking them. Like, that's their HR person that they're having to deal with. That's like the fucking, you know, scheduling app bullshit they're having to deal with every day. That's like the fucked up like customer service app that's like not, you know, working anymore, instead of actually having real processes, because like we've let people kind of get into this weird efficiency mindset where you're like overproducing elites, and then they're sitting around trying to figure out how we can best organize stuff. And then we have like, they're just organizing stuff in these backwards ways, and then there's people like not enough people that actually do the other type of work, and so you just have this weird
like,
thing.
And like, listen, dude, like all the hand wringing about like going back to in-person work is like a huge thing, dude. It's a huge thing. And like I now work remotely. I work from home, and I fucking love it, dude. I love it so fucking much, dude. Like, so I get it. You know what I mean? I get the hand wringing. If, you know, I like don't want to have to go back to a fucking workplace. That shit sucks dick, right? But like, the vast majority of people don't fucking relate with that shit, dude. And like, honestly, man, like, I barely even fucking relate with that shit in my position. And I think people see that, and they understand, especially because that sentiment is so catered to in our culture.
Yeah.
And I think people see the dissonance there, where they look at it and they just say, like, you know, like, this does not reflect my experience with work at all.
Yeah.
Why am I seeing this so propped up as just like the most normal thing in the world, right? That's like a fundamentally different world than I live in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that like the PMC type of culture, like when I think of PMC, I'm thinking of like hipsters in a way. And like, I think fundamentally most people, regular people, don't like hipsters, or like what they consider hipsters. So I think that like on
It's
that
funny because
same...
we don't even say that, like, hipster isn't even in the modern lexicon.
Right, I know. And like, I feel crazy even saying it, but like, I have no other word for it. Like, I'm picturing the type of dude that's going to these brew pubs and it's got a handlebar mustache and wears flannels around and shit, bro. Like, these are the kind of people I'm thinking of. Right.
And you're not wrong. Right. I like, to be honest, I more think of just like a annoying,
or a broad getting
like,
the green juice with the clipboard.
Exactly. Like, I think like broads, right?
Yeah,
but like, sure. But it's not. It's not. Both are true, right?
And I think that most regular people have a distrust of that individual from like off rip, or they just have a disdain for them, whatever way. It's like something that's programmed in within us. And so I think that like talking about the PMC as like an onboarding ramp is a great way to get through to those people, because like, yeah, fuck those people, bro, for sure, no doubt.
100%.
Like, I don't think that they're the problem. I think that they're like an appendage of the problem, and they're like an appendage that has a sword and it's just fucking chopping everything up to bits. But I think that, you know, fundamentally, like getting pigeonholed into PMC critique is not exactly where I think the most useful frame of reference for like a long-term or holistic
it is a symptom, right?
Yeah.
That's the you're correct. You're definitely correct there. It is a fucking big symptom now. Like it's kind of getting people pilled on the idea that it's like kind of the defining symptom of our
era, definitely
is like a really big thing.
Yeah.
And
it's easy to see.
That's the big thing, is that things need to be easy to see in this way. You know, you need to like, when you're telling people challenging fucking ideas that are going to kind of like, you know, catch them off guard a little bit, you need to at least have a little bit of like observable truth in the shit you're saying. And when you don't, and like, I definitely have experienced conversations with people where they're just like, I literally don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. And I'm doing a horrible job of communicating it. Like, I'm not a particularly good communicator. It's like, fuck, dude, it's such a frustrating feeling. But I think that this is one you gotta value, and you can find those concepts that are
definitely
they're just gold like that. And this just feels like such a good, well, okay, all right, here. I'm gonna be even worse about this. Which topic? I'm gonna give you a choice of topics you want to talk about next. All right, how about that?
Okay.
I'm gonna do pick a card, any card right here, except you know what card it is, so that's not a very good comparison. But
you're gonna give me a few?
Yeah, I'm giving you a selection here. Okay. Okay, we talk about taking better care of ourselves. Talking about the latest installment of What's the Deal with This Broad. We do talk about door-to-door salesmen, or we talk about the Washington State trans bill that just passed.
And that concludes part 1 of this week's episode of These People Are Sick. If you enjoyed part 1 and would like to listen to part 2, you can find that on patreon.com at patreon.com/thesepeoplearesick. Once again, that is patreon.com/thesepeoplearesick. And we'd love to see you over there, as we've got additional exclusive content, as well as direct lines of communication with Slav and myself. So come on over and say hey.